Hi, my name is Meg and I showered today. I'm also starting a YouTube channel, yay! So this is going to be a channel that mostly talks about books. So booktubers, welcome, talk to me, I'll talk to you, subscribe to me, I'll subscribe to you. And just a couple of other things like I'm interested in talking about, like movies, shows. Basically, if I consume media, it's fair game for this channel. But for the most part, this is called the Horde of 10,000, and the 10,000 are books. Like many of you watching this, I have always loved to read, to the point where when I went to college, I met somebody that I knew in middle school and said hello because I had gained social skills by that point and knew that when you saw someone, you knew you were supposed to say hello. And he looked at me, he was like, "I'm sorry, do I know you?" And I said, "Hey, it's Meg from school." He's like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you because you weren't reading a book." So that kind of perfectly encapsulates my love for reading right there. Unrecognizable without a book in my hand. Now, in this modern digital age, it is usually a Kindle or headphones because audiobooks are real books, and I will fight anyone who tells me different. A little bit about me as a reader. I do not like to DNF. I'm just going to come right out the gate and say it. Now, to anybody else, I would say, "Oh my gosh, of course. If it's not bringing you joy, why would you do it?" No, but for me, the rules are different. Because if I do not finish a book, I am weak and despicable and barely worth the air that I breathe. And can you tell that I'm a former gifted millennial? I think you can. I will read anything, anything at all. Anything you want to send my way, I will read it. And as I've said, I don't DNF. So I have read widely from a variety of genres. My preferred genres are fantasy, cozy mystery right now, and romance. Just any kind of romance, from like the Bridgerton Regency romances to romantasy to paranormal romance to the weird stuff on Kindle Unlimited that we don't like to talk about. But like I said, I read it all. I have things on my shelves that are, bodice ripper romances. I have Redwall, one of my favorite fantasy series from when I was a kid. I've got classics like Little Women, Les Miserables, The Picture of Dorian Gray. I've also got sci-fi like Dune, Artemis, Wool, and I've got graphic novels, nonfiction, memoirs. I just recently read I'm Glad My Mom Died, and wow, was that fantastic. But that's all this to say that I'll read anything. But like every person, I have experiences, biases that affect what I choose to read and how I look at what I do read. So if you were to check off my little demographic boxes, here are some of those boxes for you. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a cisgendered female. I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial. I'm a mom. I'm queer, but I'm married to a dude, and have fun with that in the comments if you like. Half Puerto Rican, culturally white, that's a story for another time. I'm a former teacher. I have nonverbal learning disorder, which is in that same family as ADHD and autism spectrum. I grew up in Slower Lower, Delaware, and then moved to Philadelphia. If you are unfamiliar with Slower Lower Delaware, let's just say that Delaware, the second smallest state in the Union, thinks that it's big enough to have a north and a south. I'm from the south, and then I moved up to the north for college and never wanted to go back. And I also have Sjogren syndrome. So if you are a spoonie or someone who suffers through chronic pain or has had your life disrupted by physical or mental illness, we might get along. So if any of these check off your boxes too, hello, new friend, and welcome. If you find yourself turned off by any of the things that I just mentioned, or flat out repulsed, I give you permission now to move along. You do not have to be like me and persevere to the end of this video. You can just scroll on past because you staying here truly benefits neither of us. So what have I been reading lately? Well, there was a lovely readathon that is wrapping up today, May 31st, and I will link to Crystal, Books Forever After, in the notes for the episode so that you can check out her channel. She was the host of the Ever After Readathon, which was a historical romance readathon that ran from May 17th to today. May 31st is the last day. I was supposed to read 9 books. I read 4. You'll find this out about me as a reader. I have lots of ambitions, I have lots of goals, and I don't often meet them, but wiser people than me tell me to just keep doing it anyway, so here I am. Readathons are something that I started to get into during the pandemic, when we all had lots and lots of time on our hands, and what better time than to just read a bunch of books thematically. So I haven't been doing as much of them lately, so I'm very excited to dive back in and then also talk about it on a YouTube channel. Historical romance for the Ever After Readathon is a genre that I'm happy to go back to. I spent a lot of my late teens and early 20s reading Philippa Gregory, Diana Gabaldon, Gabaldon, I never know how to say it, but I was very into that genre for a while and then just kind of moved on to other things as I got older. So it's been really nice to revisit that genre and then also get a little creative with my historical romance choices. So let's get into the books that I actually did finish. The first one is Leif by Celeste Barclay. I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars because there were so many things to love. There was a hot Viking, magic existed in this world, at least prophetic aptitude existed in this world. That's my dog Arthur, who continues to bark no matter how many times I record this. The only complaint that I had about it was that there was very little preamble to the action. You're just kind of thrown into the MMC and the FMC, meeting each other, falling head over heels in love, and then facing the peril. But if you don't like exposition anyway, you may not be bothered by it. That did not stop me, however, from immediately looking up if some of the side characters get their own books in the future. They do, so I will be reading Freya next. My second book was Escaping Mr. Rochester, and oh my god. It's a Jane Eyre retelling. Jane knows about Bertha very quickly, and they make a plan to escape Mr. Rochester, hence the name Escaping Mr. Rochester. And they fall deeply in love. It's beautiful, it's fantastic, it's everything I ever wanted. It makes Jane Eyre a Black queer woman, which I like being able to see the story from that perspective. And I am always a fan of writers of color writing for the kid in themselves who wanted to see someone who looked like them in the stories that they loved. One kept my heart in my throat from the get-go, because if you've read Jane Eyre, you know how it ends, but sometimes retellings like to do their own endings, and I wasn't sure which one this was going to go with. I will not spoil it for you if you want to pick it up, and I highly suggest that you do. Moving on to book number 3, Beauty's Rose by Shauna Slayton. This is part of a series of fairy tale retellings that she has written. This one does, obviously, Beauty and the Beast. It is technically a historical romance because it is set in the 80s. And if we are following the rules of antiques, then that means it is officially vintage. So I say it counts. I'm glad it counts because this was a fantastic book. I was attached to the Beast character, who was an actual beast. And that is very important to me in Beauty and the Beast retellings. So there are a lot of retellings. I'm thinking of the Beastly movie with Vanessa Hudgens and Mary-Kate Olsen, where the guy is still attractive. Like, yes, he's got some lumps on his face and he's got like weird black tattoos, but he is still cut like a diamond and has fantastic bone structure. that doesn't count. The beast in this Beauty's Rose was beastly. He had beast-like of the forest features, and he smelled. I feel like this was an important thing to note, and Shauna Slayton did not disappoint. The setting in this was absolutely stunning. It's set in a medieval French town, which is kind of historically preserved. If you're from the United States, think Williamsburg. And everybody who lives there is part of this like preservation effort. Margot, our main character, gets to spend her summer there with her great aunt, and it's the stuff, it really truly is the stuff of fairy tales. Having it set in the 80s was a unique and fun way to experience this storyline. I think that Slayton did an excellent job of telling us subtly that we are in the 80s without really hammering it over the head. I give this one a 4 out of 5 because the only thing that kept pricking at me was very much the reminders constantly that Margot doesn't speak French and she's bookish. And the author reminds us at every turn. So highly recommend. I will be reading the other books in the series because I did very much enjoy them. And the last of my Ever After Readathon books that I finished last night was Murder on Black Swan Lane by Andrea Penrose. I messed up on this one. This is not a historical romance. This is a straight up mystery. Now, I was led to believe that this was a romance because this is part of a series called The Rexford and Sloane. The book that I first came across was book number 5, in which they are about to be married. So I thought, oh, I'll go back to the beginning where they meet and see how they kind of get close to each other and fall in love. And they don't. I guess that happens in book 2 or 3 or 4. So I was a little bit disappointed. But as a mystery, it was really fun. It was one of those Regency era mysteries where the culprits are the members of these science and pseudoscience secret societies. And those are always very fun to read. And that's it for me for the Ever After Readathon. I only got through 4. I wish I could do more. So now I'm gearing up for the next Readathon. Starting at midnight tonight is the amazing Readathon. I've never done this one before, but there are an awful lot of people who have. There are over 1,000 members on the Discord server. I have the link to the announcement video from Bree with 4 Paws in a Book linked below if you would also like to get in on this action. And I'm so excited. I'm on Team Romance because that's just the vibe I've been feeling lately, and I feel like I can plow through, pun intended, a bunch of romance novels in a month's time. This does last for the entire month. It's based on The Amazing Race. I still do not fully understand how the game is played, but I do understand that every week a prompt will be dropped and I will be reading a book based on that prompt. So it is impossible to build a TBR for this readathon for the main books. Now they do have what are called sightseeing prompts, which are like bonus and extras. And I've built up a lot of potential reads for the sightseeing prompts. Some of the ones that I'm most excited about that I definitely do hope I get the chance to read are Squeak, Balloon Animals, Spice. I don't know how they mix, but I'm gonna find out. Unwrap My Heart, which was from TikTok. The way it was advertised was they've done every other paranormal romance but mummies. So the man gave the people what they needed. And I bought it and I'm gonna read it. I'm excited for Private Property by Skye Warren. I've read a lot of her stuff before. I always enjoy it. And this is yet another Jane Eyre retelling. So I'm very interested to see in doing the Jane Eyre story with 2 readathons back to back, the differences and the similarities and how each author handled. As I mentioned before, I immediately downloaded the subsequent book after Life by Celeste Barclay. That's Freya. I really, really want to be able to work this in somehow because Freya is Leif's sister, and we get to see a lot of her in Leif's book, and I want to see more. I'm also looking forward to Pucking Wild, which is the second book in the Jacksonville Rays sports romance series, and by God, the first one was. Whew. I'm also looking forward to one of the host picks, Yours Insatiably, and that is about two non-humans, so a succubus and a fae. There is a female main character and a non-binary main character, and I am very excited to read that, especially since tomorrow begins Pride Month. Another reason I'm looking forward to the amazing readathon so much is because my 7-year-old daughter is going to be reading with us. I am excited for her to do the prompts with me. She wants to do Team Fantasy because she is all about those princesses, those monsters, and the magic. And I got one more thing on my to-do list for the month of June, and that's this, the Saga series. My book club is reading the newest installment, volume 11, at our meeting at the end of June, and I haven't read any of the Saga graphic novels or comics. I feel terrible. I know I'm a bad human being. Actually, no. Scratch that. I'm not a terrible person. I just haven't widely read the graphic novel genre, mostly because I'm cheap. And if I am gonna pay for a book, it's gonna be a big book, big sturdy book, big wordy book, points if you get the reference, and it's gonna be cheap. It's gonna be used probably, or it's gonna be free on my Kindle, because I don't like to spend money on things I could get for free. So luckily my local library did have volumes 1 through 7. I'm gonna have to ask around for some of my friends to see if I might borrow 8, 9, and 10. I did look up a couple of things about it, and one of the things that kind of drew me to it instantly was the cover, which is, the mother breastfeeding the daughter. And there's a guy with a ram horn, there's a woman with wings, and it's about parenthood. It's parenthood in space, and there's lots of action and drama going. At least that's what I've come to know from my first skin deep round of Googling. Didn't want to look too hard because I didn't want to have the series spoiled for me, but so far it looks like this is going to be a fantastic graphic novel series. As the amazing readathon goes on, I am going to try and post a short form video on TikTok that I'll also put here on this channel for each book that I read, as just kind of a very short, snappy review. So stay tuned for those. I do have a TikTok account that I have linked. It is very serviceable. I also have a Twitter/X account, Instagram, Threads, and those are less respectable and very bare bones, but I'm working on building them up. One of the things that I'm looking forward to doing on this YouTube channel is a children's corner. This is gonna be about children's literature, but it is not going to be for children because I curse a lot, and I tend to curse more when I'm talking and very deeply impassioned about children's literature or movies or TV shows. My 7-year-old brings a bunch of different stuff home from the library, and sometimes it is not interesting to me at all, and other times it is absolutely fascinating to me, and I'm enthralled by what she has brought. Lately, she's been obsessed with a series that 90s kids know and love. I'll talk about my perspective as an adult reading more of this series and kind of revisiting something that I'm sure I read as a kid. It was just that pervasive. Like it's a name that everybody knows, but I don't actually have memories of reading. I don't have a whole lot of memories before the age of 10. If you want to take a guess as to what that series is, feel free to post your guess below and make sure to stay tuned. If there's anything that you love and want somebody to talk about, please let me know in the comments. I'll read anything, almost anything. I did discover through TikTok that I do have some limits, and the line is at Triceratops and Bottoms. I will not be reading this book. You can read it if you dare. It's one of those Kindle Unlimited, shady, spicy things. So yeah, tell me about the books, shows, movies, podcasts that you like. I will give a listen, give a look, and report back on how I feel about it. So, thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, you're a beautiful person. I appreciate you. I don't know why you did it, but I'm glad you did. Till next time.